Alright, so this is the Lee Enfield number 4 Mark 1 Star. This particular example is made by the Canadian Long Branch Armory. It's one of the two variants of the number 4 Mark 1s produced here in North America. One in Long Branch in Canada and Savage Arms in the US. So the number 4 Mark 1 is pretty popular and very common rifle in the US. So what I'm going to actually go over is the difference between the number 4 Mark 1 and the Mark 1 Star, which we have right here. This is basically, it's still the Lee Enfield action. It's not really any different of a rifle. It just has very minor alterations to it. What the British called wartime expediency measures. Well, obviously, it was basically the Mark 1 Star is meant to ease production, make it easier, so manufacturing process easier, so you can get more rifles out of the the arsenal, the armories, and out into the field much quicker. This particular rifle is made in 1944, and it has been import marked on the barrel, so I mean it in its own doesn't really hold that much of a value, but it is a very nice example of a wartime Enfield that we can take a look at today. So the first and foremost thing they did on the Mark 1 Star is they changed how the bolt is retained into the gun, how the bolt locks into the gun. I guess that's not specifically true. I guess more easier way to understand it is they changed how the bolt is disassembled from the receiver and taken out of the gun. What you will notice on a regular Mark 1 is that when you retract the bolt all the way, you have a tab right here, which you push down to release the bolt head from the rail that keeps it into the gun. And then once you pull this tab, you would theoretically be able to lift the bolt head up, and with the Mark 1 in particular, you have to lift the rear sight, and then that will allow you to pull the bolt out. As you can see on the Mark 1 Star, it doesn't have this feature. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no groove cut into it for that part. And this is, once again, it's a way to speed up manufacturing. Is what they did is they cut a groove up here at the front of the receiver to basically skip this entire step. And what the idea basically is that there's a half cock on this bolt, and as you can see, when you're cocking it on normal circumstances, you can't stop where the bolt head can fly out. It's on spring pressure, so that won't make it fall out by itself. And then on the pull, you have the take up from the half cock that makes you basically slide past it with any amount of force. So in theory, this works out really well, and so far I haven't had any problems with it, but there are numerous examples and cases of the bolt head flying out of the gun in these Mark 1 Stars. And from what I heard, that can be attributed to this groove, these grooves being chipped over time, and basically allows the bolt head to ride along the chip and fly out of the action. And also a very unique feature I've noticed is in combination with these Mark III sights, you can actually just pull the bolt out without lifting the sight. Lifting the aperture sight up to allow the bolt to exit the gun is no longer a thing with these rifles. Also, from what I hear, the Mark 1 Stars, depending on when they're produced, oh, sorry. Of course, you need to put the bolt head back in, and then you'll be able to put the gun back together. But the sights can vary from the Mark 1 style aperture sight, which has an adjustment screw that'll go all the way up. This Mark 3 style sight, which you just push the tab to pull up. It's much faster to actually graduate elevation, but it's kind of a lot harder to set it into a very specific range. And a very crude battle sight, which has a sight for 300 yards like this, and then another sight exactly like it for 600 with no adjustability whatsoever. I'm not really sure. On the Mark 1 Star, it's kind of vague on which one's correct for what era and what series of production. But I'm not really that much of a stickler for matching parts. And I don't really know if this is actually a sight that came with the gun. Um, I can say that it shoots this gun. It shoots on this gun with this sight very well, but it does look like the bluing is was a blued finish instead of this enamel black painting finish that the rest of the gun has. So I don't really know if that's original to the gun or if it's something somebody added later on to make the gun shoot very accurately. Because, well, I mean, from what I've seen, it shoots pretty accurately. Um, yeah, and that's basically it. This particular rifle, I got fairly lucky. Every numbered part on this gun is matching, which is really cool, including the magazine. Now I hear that's a very very hard thing to come by, with the Enfields, especially because of it's very detachable, and it's a part that's often easily damaged from what I hear. And yeah, these Lee Enfields are very strange, peculiar rifles for their era. This is the time when Germany's still using K98K rifles. The U.S. is just adopted the M1 Garand with the 8-round M-block clips, and the Lee Enfield has a 10-round detachable box magazine on a bolt-action rifle, which is kind of superb for the period, but they seem to have I don't know if you call it a conflict of interest or just what was standard at the time is you weren't expected to have a 10 round loaded magazine that once empty you'd pull out and put another one in, much like you'd see today. Norm for today in any self-loading automatic, semi-automatic rifles is you have a detachable magazine that you change when you're out of ammo. And what you were expected to do was still load from a charger, 5 rounds at a time for a total of 10 rounds. And I think that's a little bit strange, but I could totally understand that it wasn't considered normal. There's no normal standard or set precedent saying that magazines have to be detachable and you have to have the rounds of the magazine that you put together. But yeah, so that's basically the thought I had about this particular rifle. I'm kind of sorry, but that in my current setup, I can't really show the entire rifle, but unfortunately that would entail showing a lot of other things that I don't really want in the frame. So I'm terribly sorry, but it's just gonna have to stick with that for until I basically come up with a better solution for a layout of recording these full-length rifles. The Enfield is by far the shortest one I have, and yet I still have trouble getting it all into the frame, as you can see. So I'm definitely gonna have to figure something out there. But other than that, the thing shoots really nicely. I slugged a bore, and surprisingly, it's undersized. At 310, it should be a 311. That's what the 303 caliber should be. The diameter of a 303 is 0.311 inches, but it's 0.01 inch smaller than the actual diameter of the bullet, so that probably contributes to the accuracy of the gun. And while I'm talking about that, I guess I should mention that some of the Mark 1 stars, well, most of them, come with a 2-groove rifling. That's another one of the expediency measures that, a lot of countries tended to do this. Springfield 1903s are also not an exception to that. If you look up 1903s, there's plenty of them that have 2-groove riflings made during the war. And this is normal, very, very normal for wartime production, and the Mark 1 Star is not an exception to that. The regular rifles should be, I think, 4 or 5 groove rifling, and what you see is a lot of post-war arsenals. The Mark 1-3, Mark 1 Star converted back into Mark 2 standards. They'll have a new rifle, not a new rifle, but a new barrel placed in with the proper 4 or 5 grooves, whichever it was, after the war. So again, this is are completely parts matching, except maybe the sight. I'm not really too sure about that. 1944 Canadian Long Branch. And I thought it was a very cool rifle to own. It's the fact that it shoots extremely well is a very nice bonus. But yeah, very cool piece, and hopefully I'll see you soon with more of my rifles.